That's gonna be great with sound.
Pull my finger. The other one.
Okay, just cut in the middle of that.
Pull my finger. The other one.
All
Okay,
right.
well, so much talking about farting, but no one actually pooted. What did you grow up calling it? We can fart on our own show. Why didn't we?
Because the farting etiquette that I apply to the show is
Farting climate of the show
is no farts.
is that we don't fart during the show.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just that's
to even bring that up.
That's shameful.
Toot is what we called it.
Toot growing up?
Yeah. Toot.
We now, as much as my family farted and set a farting climate of,
They didn't call it anything?
we didn't. The word fart was a bad word.
Oh, we couldn't say fart either. I'm sure lots of people are like, why are they saying fart so much? That's a bad word.
It's not a bad word. It's a great word. And my kids can use it. But my kids are not allowed to use the word fart in place of normal, in other words, in normal sentences. Like, because they think it's funny.
Give me an example.
Like,
don't fart around.
No, it'd be like, Lando would be like, "What are we farting for dinner?"
He would say this?
Yeah, he would like throw in potty words in wrong places in order to because he thinks it's funny.
It is kind of funny.
We don't tell him that because we're trying to break him of that.
What are we farting for dinner? I don't know. We got to eat first.
Yeah, here I am laughing. It's not that funny. Wow, we're sad.
It is.
We are sad. Sad men.
He shouldn't say it. Definitely not.
But so we never use the word fart, but we would audibly fart. Parents, grandparents, everybody.
But we have the way we can get into this.
How backwards is
classroom and workplace farting scenario is I definitely think that we should just tell the Tommy story.
Right, as like a cautionary tale.
Yeah, because
T-A-I.
Here's the fact. I'm going to give you the moral of the story before the story, and then give it to you again, so you'll never forget it. And that is, in certain situations, the workplace and the classroom, an audible fart can change the trajectory of your career. Because if you do it too early, I would say, if you do it in class at all and other students hear it, or if you do it in the first 90 days of employment as an adult, you will be known as the person who farted audibly in front of everybody. After 90 days of employment, it would just be funny. But if it's early on, it's just like, yeah, the guy who farted. Unless
your job requires farting.
Yeah, and I can't really think of what would do that. Maybe some sort of fart sniffer.
A self-fart sniffer. No, like a fart Foley artist.
A fart sniffing duo that was working together, a team.
Yeah. Fart Foley artist. I mean, there's a demand for that. We needed it for this episode.
We got him from somewhere.
Right. And so that person can and should fart in the first 90 days of his work. But
in the first
else,
90 seconds, if he's good at his job.
Yeah, you got to show up with a backlog.
But the Tommy story, this was an English class. History class. Oh,
yeah, this is Miss Ennis's class. And this was back in the day when if something really great happened, Rhett would pull out a sheet of paper and he would illustrate it. And I guarantee that upstairs in our filing cabinet, I still have the drawing of the story that
I would make it into like a comic.
He would make a comic of funny things that happened. So yeah, that was Miss Ennis's class.
So there was do you specifically remember what she was teaching on and the moment of silence?
She was teaching history, but there was a pregnant pause.
There was definitely a pause.
And Tommy was like,
he was in the middle of the
class,
as middle as you can get.
Yeah.
As middle as you can get. Right in the middle.
And Tommy was
large.
He was a husky dude.
He's just a big guy. I mean, he was probably
big bone.
He was over 6 feet tall in high school, as like a sophomore in high school, and just a big dude. And he had a flat top.
Yeah, he was
a flat top. He's just like a big dude.
Yeah, he was a great guy. But we didn't really know him that well. He's very quiet. He kept to himself, hardly talked to anybody.
He didn't keep quiet this day though.
Kept his head down.
Because there was a moment of silence, and Tommy let one rip. And let me just tell you that it was so loud and so long that everyone in the entire classroom, including the teacher, was able to stop,
look up,
look around,
listen, and
isolate
locate
the
it.
source.
And it was still happening.
By the time everyone had isolated the source, as Tommy, he was still gone.
It was so low and reverberatory, it was like a generator had powered on.
The way the classroom seat sent it out like a satellite to everyone in the room. I mean, I feel like, I feel like congratulating him.
It was as if someone had taken aluminum trash can lid and just started shaking.
But here was Tommy's fatal mistake.
The fart was great.
All he needed to do, and if this happens to you,
Well, tell him what he did do.
he did nothing.
He
His
looked, he
face
stared
got
down.
red and he looked
stared down.
You have to stand up and take a bow, and you will become the king of your high school. So, I mean, in fact, if you've got one like that working,
The fart king.
and you fart in class
It's a
like that,
special monarch.
you stand up, you bow. But if you just look down and you turn red,
Especially if it's still going. Like,
don't do that.
just like once he opened the floodgates, it emptied. Like, it was so much air. How is that possible,
so-
Tommy?
It was so
He could have stood up and bowed and it would have still been happening. It's like, what? It was so surreal.
But he carried that with him. Because that's what happens. And it probably even more so back when
Well,
we were
I feel
in
like
school.
he really lightened his load in one sense.
Yeah.
But he gained the burden of being known as that guy.
the guy who farted. Well, there's a lot worse things to be known for in high school than just being the guy who farted in history class.
And in fairness, I don't think that's what's going to be on his tombstone.
no.
The guy who farted.
He's probably forgotten about it.
No, he hasn't. We haven't.
So the moral of the story is, if you can, avoid it. If you can't, own it.